ourselves. In 1961, John F. Kennedy told Congress, "No single space project in this period will be more impressive to mankind." Eager to top their Soviet rivals, the Americans designed the Saturn V, a rocket the height of a 36-story building that weighed 130 tons and was fitted with 3 million parts. On July 20th, 1969, powered by the rocket, 3 American astronauts aboard a spacecraft called the Apollo 11 landed on the moon. In the years since then, competition has given way to cooperation. For the last 18 years, astronauts from 18 different countries have been living at the International Space Station. Younger astronauts are coming of age in a new era of global partnership. When they imagine their futures, they dream of Mars and deep space. And as they train for missions, they do so knowing the stakes have never been higher.
In the biggest picture, deep space exploration is our future, because someday either we will have destroyed the Earth or the sun will blow up. So our future as a human race is out there in the universe. The contributions we make are small steps along the way in a continuum, into the very distant future. When I started out at NASA, we were right in the middle of the shuttle program, and it was super exciting. All the missions were different. We were preparing to build a space station. I was working on the equipment and the EVA techniques to build the space station. We were flying the shuttle sometimes 6 or 8 times a year, so it's really fast-paced, heads down, no time for anything else but getting the job done. And that was tremendously exciting, and I feel blessed to have been part of that. When the shuttle went away, we have space station, but the pace slowed down. We weren't flying as many crew members. We do 2 or 3 missions a year. They're longer missions. Now, as we start looking forward to deep space exploration, the pace of development is picking up. The vision of getting to Mars is becoming real. I mean, we're starting to materialize some of the key technology elements that were just ideas in people's minds.
By the time I had worked 6 years at the CIA as an analyst, a friend of mine gave me a call and he said, we're accepting applications for the astronaut corps. You may want to think about applying. I was a complete outsider to NASA. And when I got the call from Peggy Whitson, it was a very emotional call, only because I never dreamed that I would have been one of the 9 Americans that the U.S. selected that year.
We'll go ahead and pull the nose up. We'll look for 200 knots when we begin our roll at about 10 degrees nose high. Roll inverted and begin our pull, okay? Remember, you're trying to get a lot of that turn out of the way right at the beginning while you have that relatively low airspeed on the aircraft. And then once the airspeed builds, once you see the green donut illuminate on the AOA indexer, just pulling towards the green donut, straight back to the zipper. Put your head out the top of the canopy so you're kind of pulling straight back, exactly. And then just, once you pick up the horizon, keep the wings level with the horizon and just recover back to level flight.
So when you first arrive at NASA and you're selected, one of the things they have you do is learn how to fly the T-38 jet. We're in the back seat. We have a helmet on, we have a face mask on, a harness, and it's a very small, tight spot in the back seat. That is very similar to being in the spacewalk suit. The spacewalk suit is your ship, and it's just you in that ship, and that's your life support system. So as a backseater, we get to hone and sharpen every skill that we need in order to fly in space. We were trained specifically for expeditions, and so that meant that we had to do spacewalk training, which in the past not everyone got the chance to do, because on shuttles, if your role was to do robotics, that's all you practice. If your role was to do the spacewalks, to build the space station, that's what you did. But now, in this new era, when you come in, you have to do all the spacewalk training, all the robotics training, to do the Russian language training and requirements. You have to do all the T-38 stuff as usual, all the ISS systems as well we had to learn.
We started as a bunch of military test pilots when they were building and testing the first spacecraft that we ever launched in the U.S. But now we still have those same kind of backgrounds, but we have a much more diverse pool. So my class, there are 8 people in the 21st class of astronauts. We have 4 women, 4 men, 6 military, 2 civilians, a wide array of backgrounds ranging from medical doctors, flight test engineers, electrical engineers, physicians, and me as a scientist. Spaceflight exploration is important really just because of this driving force in my life that has been to explore and to push further and to ask questions and to learn more about nature and the world around us. And that has driven me from the time that I was a kid and being interested in biology to the types of experiments that I pursued in extreme animal physiology as a scientist, and now where I'll really be the extreme animal in the extreme environment. One of the things that we use for astronaut training here is analog training. And if you want to replicate various aspects or try to replicate a whole mission in space, how do you do that on the ground? We can't replicate everything. It's sort of a difficult problem to solve. So what we do is try to find isolated or extreme environments that mimic a lot of those conditions of isolation, working in a small environment with a small group of people in an intense setting. From the time that we come in as astronaut candidates, we start learning about the International Space Station systems. So when we're up there on the space station, we have to be experts really in everything. We have to be able to go for the spacewalk, come inside, do this.
You're halfway there, and then it's like, okay, we're halfway there, and now you get home. And so you kind of set these mental milestones as you break the mission into different phases. And you know, we're going to Mars. I mean, what's not to like about that? And I guarantee.
Since the year 2000, the United States and Russia have made 52 expeditions together to the International Space Station. Half a century ago, it would have been inconceivable for arch geopolitical rivals to join forces. But space exploration has inspired a new era of diplomacy and international cooperation. All the major global players, from the US and Russia to China, Germany, India, and Japan, have space programs of their own. National space programs aren't alone in transporting us beyond the Earth's atmosphere. Private companies with cutting-edge resources and multi-billion-dollar budgets are now competing the way the Americans and the Soviets once did. They are racing against each other to refine the technology needed to make cargo trips to the International Space Station routine, safe, and smooth. Soon, their spacecrafts will carry astronauts too. Collaborating with private industry in space has allowed NASA to train its sights on an even more ambitious goal: deep space. With the creation of the James Webb Telescope, we'll soon see farther than we ever have before into the origins of our universe. For as long as humans inhabit the Earth, the mystery of the cosmos will beckon and entrance us. The quest for answers transcends national borders, cultures, and languages. All of humanity is on this journey together.
After the Space Shuttle Columbia, I think everybody really had to take a thorough look at the Space Shuttle program and try to understand whether or not this was the safest mode of transportation. We turned the transportation to the International Space Station over to the Russians, at the same time knowing that we were going to have a commercial entity that was going to bring humans to space. Turning that capability over to the commercial providers really opened a lot of doors in the space flight industry. They can take advantage of the technology that's transpired in the last 2 or 3 decades at NASA and incorporate that into the spacecraft. And that opens up the technology for so many more people. In the beginning of the U.S. space program, we had NASA centers around the country. Now I think on one hand I could quickly name a whole bunch of different companies: Orbital, SpaceX, Boeing, Sierra Nevada, Blue Origin, Virgin Galactic, and the list goes on. These companies are all around the country that have the confidence and the know-how and the technology to build spacecraft that can go into low Earth orbit. Collaboration with the companies is really going to be beneficial for NASA in the long run. There's a bunch of amazing, innovative, young people out there implementing their ideas into creating a spacecraft. We're learning from them, they're learning from us. This shared information is really going to help NASA build its future spacecraft. We're getting a lot of great ideas from these companies, and it frees up a lot of work on our further programs of exploration.
командир экипажа космического корабля «Союз» МС-06. И я очень рассчитываю, через неделю в это же время мы уже будем на подлете к МКС.
Экипажи, находящиеся на этапе предстартовой подготовки, должны быть защищены максимально от любого потенциального вируса, бактерии, чтобы вдруг перед самым стартом не заболеть или не забрать какую-то вредоносную флору и фауну с собой в космос. Поэтому это такой способ обезопасить экипажи от, наверное, чрезмерного общения или чрезмерно активного общения с окружающими, потому что
А ведь он мне не надоел, и станция мне не надоела. И это было настолько великолепно, потому что, с одной стороны, ты чувствовал предвкушение радости встречи с родными и близкими, радости возвращения домой, а с другой стороны, я уже немножко скучал по этому месту. И я к нему относился как к другому дому, в который я хочу вернуться. И вот я сейчас уже в нетерпении вернуться туда. Итак, после того, как мы займем свои места в космическом корабле, мы это делаем примерно за 2,5 часа до старта, мы проведем проверку всего оборудования космического корабля, проверим свои скафандры на герметичность. И в последующем сам процесс выведения ракеты на орбиту занимает всего лишь чуть менее 10 минут.
Затянут привязная затянута, перчатки где-то, вентиляция есть у меня? Вентиляция есть. Хорошо, проверяем. РДСП 04. РДСП 04. Хорошо. Закрываем гермошлем. Принял. Гермошлем закрыт. Вентиляция есть. Подтверждаю, вентиляция есть. Закрываем РДСП. РДСП закрыт. Есть поддув? Есть предварительный поддув.
У нас впереди 1 неделя до старта. Чувствовать себя подготовленными ментально к полету и быть таковыми в действительности, мы должны пройти огромное количество тренировок, которые готовят нас к тем факторам или к тем вещам, которые могут пройти. Тоже вращение на центрифуге – это очень интересный тренажер. Кроме того, что мы на центрифуге делаем вращение центрифуги для того, чтобы определить здоровье собственное, позволяет оно нам быть космонавтами, оставаться в этой профессии или нет. Мы учимся и тренируемся на тот случай, когда нам необходимо выполнить ручной управляемый спуск в атмосферу. Честно сказать, на сегодняшний день Роскосмос не ставит конкретной, четко прописанной цели. То это будет Луна, Марс или еще какие-то объекты исследований в космосе. Но во что я точно верю, и я не представляю исследования космоса без чего, так это без совместной работы.
Для меня лично нет никакой разницы, это японец, американец, европеец, канадец. Я знаю, что вот все астронавты, с которыми я работал совместно, порядочные, хорошие люди, настоящие друзья. И действительно стираются границы в таком совместном сотрудничестве. Я не чувствовал ни разу какого-то именно соперничества. Я всегда чувствовал поддержку, готовность прийти на помощь. Это дорогого стоит, вы знаете, это стоит дорогого.
Как только мы вышли за пределы нашей атмосферы, для него мы люди. И вот я считаю, что мы, люди в космосе, должны жить вместе. А может быть, когда у нас в космосе начнет это получаться еще лучше и в более массовом выражении. Глядишь, мы и на Земле научимся жить как люди, все вместе.
С самого начала экспедиции была грусть. Вот эта вот грусть, она как бы нарастала. В конце экспедиции она, можно сказать, взяла меня за горло. Потому что мне грустно было расставаться со станцией. И силу возраста, и силу того, что время наступает, и рано или поздно надо с активной профессией космонавта прощаться. И вот, знаете, как вот последние недели вот медленно проплываешь по станции, заглядывая в разные уголки, заглядывал в аэрлог, там висит эмблемка с моего первого полета СТС-112. И когда я был членом экипажа шаттла, и мы там осуществляли, я помогал ребятам, которые осуществляли выходы в американских скафандрах. Я тогда даже не мечтал о том, что когда-нибудь я сам совершу выход в американском скафандре. Вот. Заглядывал в другие уголки, вспоминал, как росла станция за это время. Это мой был 5-й визит на станцию, Международную космическую станцию. И вот это вот вид Земли с иллюминатора. Удастся ли мне это еще раз увидеть? Программа МКС показала всему миру, насколько мы можем продвинуться вперед, когда работаем вместе. Не когда мы соперничаем друг с другом, а когда мы партнеры друг с другом. Вот это самое важное для меня в этой программе.
так как я понимал, что это мой крайний полет, то в основу нашей эмблемы 52-й экспедиции я и взял вот эту вот идею. Орбиты вокруг Земли. Человек научился летать вначале вокруг Земли. Вот Земля в центре этой эмблемы. И мы совершили шаг от первого спутника до Международной космической станции. 52-я экспедиция Международной космической станции. Следующая наша задача — это Луна, как я понимаю, и все. Но на Луне вы можете увидеть небольшой след. Это след Нейла Армстронга. Человек там уже был. Следующий шаг — это Марс. А дальние шаги человечества — это Юпитер и Сатурн. Почему? Потому что на планетах этих, на спутниках этих гигантских планет нашли воду. А дальше меня всегда спрашивают, почему вот оно не упорядочено. Нет. Это путь человечества. Он может улететь и дальше в галактике, еще куда-нибудь. Но куда бы человек ни летал, он возвращается к себе домой. А дом — это Земля.
The International Space Station is an amazing example of what people can do when they work together. We are able to build the International Space Station with a lot of trust between nations and understanding and learning throughout that process. And I think that is the way that this world is going to come together, when we work on these amazing, huge projects and we are successful and we're proud to work with each other. The advent of commercial space and international cooperations in space and ideas of going farther and further from our planet, even past the moon, has really opened up a new generation of space exploration. I think we would be much more successful as a collaborative effort when we start venturing out further into space than doing it individually. Exploring space opens up new realities, new ideas. It naturally sparks your imagination. Space exploration brings out the best in human beings. I think we all should not only sit back but participate in this amazing adventure.
With the Artemis program, we're shifting our focus to exploring again, to pushing the boundaries of what we've done before. Visiting new areas of the moon, like going to the lunar South Pole, so that we can do way more detailed science investigations. How do we live on the surface of the moon safely? And how do we efficiently conduct our operations?
NASA, we've got an area in Arizona called Desert Rats. And we replicate what we think would be the operational tasks of doing celestial body exploration.
Mostly we'll be actually training the mission control teams, the operational support teams. It's more of an operational test than a scientific one.
Going to the lunar South Pole, it's not going to be a big, bright equatorial area of the moon like the Apollo landings. The lunar South Pole is going to have a very low sun angle and create very long shadows. You could be walking in bright sunlight and you come up in an area that's shadowed and you literally cannot see anything until you actually get some light on it.
We are targeting the south pole of the moon because there are some of these permanently shadowed regions where we might have some volatiles that are present. Things like water and things like carbon dioxide, which we can study and understand more about all of these processes that have shaped the moon. We can extract that water, we can drink that water, we can use that water for protection against radiation, and we could even break apart that water into hydrogen and oxygen and use that for fuel.
And so creating a way to make rocket fuel on the moon gives us an ability to then use that as a place to go from to get onto Mars, even deeper into our solar system. And that is really important.
Here it comes. Oh, yeah, that was a satisfying one.
Did it break into two pieces that you found? Or no, just this one? This one right here.
Congratulations, you've discovered your first artifact. Explore all the worlds to retrieve them all. To interact with artifacts, go to your home by pushing the button on your left wrist.